After finding suspicious receipts, I learned my husband funded a fake sister. He drained our account, abandoned our son, vanished completely, until I uncovered the truth and found the woman myself. My husband's hiding a terrible secret. My husband and I were watching the Texans destroy the Ravens when I asked Nick if he wanted another beer. Nick let out a grunt, which I took to mean, "Yes, my beautiful and loving wife, I would be thrilled if you brought me a beer." On the long walk to the kitchen, I checked my phone and saw the dreaded red battery. So I took a detour to our bedroom to plug it in. That's when I saw it. On my husband's side of the bed was a charger I'd never seen before. Black and bulky, it was long enough to reach all the way across my side of the bed. "Get lost on the way to the fridge," Nick whispered in my ear. I jumped. "Don't do that," I said, smacking him in the shoulder and then adding, "What's with the new charger?" My husband flew across the bedroom, yanked the charger out of the wall, and stuffed it in his bedside drawer. I've never seen my husband move that fast. "You weren't supposed to see that," he uttered. My husband was hiding a terrible secret, I could tell from the guilty look on his face. "Nick," I said in my most polite and understanding voice, "why did you run across the room to hide something I already saw?" "Okay," Nick let out a deep sigh, "I'll tell you." "Thank you," I said, crossing my arms. "I didn't want you to see that charger," Nick confessed, "because it cost me $57 at the Come and Go." "Huh. I know money's tight, and it was stupid to pay that much, but it was an emergency. I was waiting on a call from my boss and I couldn't find mine and I panicked and—" "Don't worry," I interrupted him, "it's fine." "Really?" Nick asked. "Really," I said, "now let's get you that beer." Nick was lying. A wife always knows. I conferred with my friends and they all said the same thing. A new charger means a new phone. A secret phone. A phone he doesn't want me to see. So I told Nick I was going to the movies, then I drove around in circles and came back home. I snuck in and quietly headed to our bedroom. If Nick has a secret phone, I'll bet he's keeping it in that drawer, hiding it in plain sight. And if Nick is cheating on me, I'll divorce his ass so fast his head spins. I gently crack open the door to our bedroom and freeze. Nick's sitting in the corner of the room, his eyes closed. He's using the black charger again, only it's not plugged into a phone, it's plugged into Nick's ear. There are soft lights blinking up and down his neck, some of them yellow, the others green. Holy shit. I slowly close the door. What the fuck was that? I tiptoe back to the stairs. "You weren't supposed to see that," Nick whispered and then shoved. Story 2. How can my husband and I help our son move past his high school girlfriend? My husband and I are at our wits' end with our son's inability to get over his high school girlfriend. They broke up in 2011, yes, you read that right. It has been that long since he even saw this girl, after having dated for about 2 years. At the time I did fully empathize with him. He had moved away for college while she stayed behind. They made efforts to see each other and talked frequently. But as I understand it, she began a relationship with someone else while she was still in one with my son. She at least had the decency to end things with my son in person, and did admit she was wrong in not having broken up with him before taking up with the new boyfriend. Nonetheless, my son was devastated by this, and we supported him as best we could at the time. I think he might have moved on in time, were it not for the fact that his ex-girlfriend then almost immediately married the young man. I believe he was in the military, hence the young marriage. This fact sent my son into a spiral which has continued in some form or another over the last 14 years. Back then I thought the marriage was unlikely to last long, and that when it ended, he'd feel some kind of vindication and drop it. But our son checks her social media frequently, though we have strongly advised him against this and says they are still married and have children. My son has had a few girlfriends in the last 14 years, but none that have lasted long. And even during the times he has been attached, he still continues to talk about how wronged he was. We see him very frequently, and while his ex is not our only topic of discussion, she does come up in some way almost every time we see him. We probably know more about her life now than we did while they were dating. We have allowed him to vent, but did eventually set boundaries around abusive language. For a time he favored a few words to describe her, beginning with S and W mainly, that I don't care for, and to his credit he has stopped that. But for all I know he's only stopped saying them around us. In general we employ the tactic of nod and agree, then change the subject. It's like he cannot resist an opportunity to bring her up. This past weekend, things came to a head when our son made an offhand comment about his ex. My husband responded by shouting at our son to get over it already, that we were sick of hearing about a girl he dated more than a decade ago, and that he needed to stop all mention of her around us. I asked my husband to go in another room and take a breather, and when he did, I suggested to my son that if he truly cannot move past this, that we help him seek some sort of therapy or other intervention. He responded by immediately leaving and has not responded to any of my texts or calls since. I wish my husband had not shouted, but I am right there with him. This has gone on too long, and we have enabled the behavior. I've even wondered if he'd still be bringing her up if we had put our foot down about this before. Anytime we have pushed back in any way or challenged any assertion he made about his ex, their relationship, he has become very upset, so we defaulted to just let him vent. I do not think he has done any more than stalk her social media, but I feel this has long been unhealthy and may require an intervention of some kind. I'm hoping he comes around in the next few days, but I'm unsure how to broach the topic again without further upsetting him. Story 3. My friend 18 male almost accidentally killed me 19 male. How do I move forward? This is a hard thing to talk about as it only happened a week ago. My family owns a crossbow that we usually shoot at a target on our property. While my father got it, it's considered to be mine for use. I am quite skilled with the crossbow and have fired it innumerable times and am very careful. It is not a killing weapon, but it's not a toy, and shooting it in a critical place could be lethal. It didn't shoot actual arrows, but more like pencil-sized darts with relatively sharp metal tips. I had brought friends over before, including my best friend 18 male, to shoot at the target with me before with no issue. This is because I very clearly explain that it isn't a toy and to exercise caution. One day my friend called me up and asked if we could shoot the crossbow. Unfortunately, I said yes. In retrospect, the warning signs were there from the start, but nothing could have prepared me for what happened that day. He showed up shortly after calling, and I was there set up and ready for him. From the start, he wanted to begin shooting the target, but I slowed him down and went over the protocol of how to fire it and how to put the safety on. He kept giving me quick responses of how he remembered how to do it, and I gave the demonstration myself. Now we had done this before, so it wasn't a complete red flag that he wanted to speed through instructions, but I wish my judgment was better. He fired it off a few times and hit the target with no issue. Then I went to grab more darts from the dart box, which was behind the direction of the target, essentially completely opposite to the line of fire. It all happened in seconds. I felt a sharp thud hit my head and my vision go black for a moment, but there was no pain. I remember looking at my friend with the crossbow in hand and wide-eyed as a deer. I began to scream as I instinctively pulled the pencil-sized dart from my head. I have to say, I may have been more in control than he was while I was bleeding from the head, as he froze in shock, and I yelled at him to call 911, which he did. My adrenaline was through the roof, and I didn't actually feel the injury, but I knew I was bleeding. Very quickly, both police and medics showed up on the scene, and I was fully lucid, and understood that I hadn't sustained a serious injury. However, the place where I was hit was an inch between my eye and temple. I told the police it wasn't intentional, as my friend could barely speak out of shock. I went to the hospital but was let out very quickly. It's been a week and my friend called to ask if I was okay at the time I was in the hospital, but we haven't talked since then. There was so much dangerous stupidity from him that I can't understand how he had his safety off and had turned away from the target, faced me, and shot. Can I ever be his friend again?